SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Now is the perfect time to take control of your money. We are Cooley & Labus Financial Advisors, your local certified financial planners, here to help you budget smarter, save more, and plan for your future.
Call today for your free consultation. Let's make your money work for you. Visit CooleyLabus.com today.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Good morning. Welcome. Thursday morning, it's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for being with us. Lance, we were a little low on supplies in the kitchen this morning, and so I had to make an early run for breakfast.
Nice.
The kitchen was open at Sky Mart.
Yeah,
they had it all
Mart.
ready to go. That was I might still be nibbling during the first couple of breaks this morning.
Yeah, that was my weak spot when I lived up there. Sky Mart breakfast. Oh, man.
I made an audible after the initial order, too. I had said eggs, bacon, and 2 biscuits.
You had to get some grits, too?
No. I kept looking at it. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to go sausage instead of biscuits this morning. She goes, okay.
I love
Good
that
start
place.
to the day.
Love that place.
And then reminded me that
eggs.
reminded me that it could either do a cup of coffee or a soft drink with it, included in the price of breakfast.
That's a deal maker. Yeah, it's a deal maker there. Yeah.
Feels like a deal. Glad to be with you. You can join the conversation this morning on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. I am excited to tell you that we have a giveaway this morning.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to give something away yesterday, and I forgot, and so I'm still waiting to find out if we can double up today. But we're going to give away tickets later this morning. Today, your chance to win Jason Aldean concert tickets. One of the biggest selling acts in the nation. Coming to Tupelo, Jason Aldean at the Cadence Bank Arena in Tupelo, Friday, January 16th. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster.com at the Cadence Bank Arena box office. But we're going to give you a chance to win. So stay with us this morning. The number for the C Spire text line is 601-879-4395. Every sports fan can tell you fast speeds win games. That's why C Spire brings you fiber home internet, nationwide 5G wireless, and IT solutions that move as fast as your business. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Weather today pretty much like it was yesterday and pretty much like it's going to be tomorrow, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Cold water, you got sunshine today, hot high of 96, winds light and variable. It's one of the hot spots in the state. Kosciuszko, sunshine and some clouds. Hot, 92 degrees. Kosciuszko, home of Alex Payton. Winds light and variable. Hazelhurst, you are mainly sunny to start the day, then a few clouds this afternoon. Stray shower or thunderstorm possible. Let me checking in around 90 with the winds light and variable. Ocean Springs, probably ought to call in sick for work because it's just going to be spectacular. Sunny skies, 89 degrees, winds out of the east, southeast at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Not trying to plan your day for you, but, you know, round of golf this morning, long, leisurely lunch, knock around on the beach this afternoon, and give you permission to go to dinner as well. I mean, what a day that would be in Ocean Springs.
A day in Ocean Springs is just heaven, especially when you get weather like this. Goodness.
Just about perfect. Billy Sims was born on this day in 1955, a name that college football fans will recognize. College Football Hall of Fame running back at the University of Oklahoma, won the Heisman Trophy in 1978, went on to play for the Detroit Lions, Pro Bowler 1980, 81, and 82, originally from St. Louis. Ryan Sandberg, rest his soul, born on this day in 1959. Man, that guy was my hero. He was my baseball hero.
He was a player, wasn't he? I mean, the guy was just always there, steady as it gets, and a hoss.
Wasn't a big I guess I was a poster guy. Not like every square inch of every wall in my room was covered. Mm-hmm. Had 2 MJ, 1 Ryan Sandberg. I think I had a Bo Jackson at one point. The shoulder pads with the baseball bat over the shoulder pads.
Had to have that.
Yeah. And there was like a Super Bowl tickets poster my grandparents got for me. But Rhino was one of them. Ryan Sandberg, 10-time All-Star, MVP in 1984, 9-time Gold Glove winner. Went on to be the manager of the Philadelphia Phillies for 3 years, originally from Spokane, Washington. The great James Gandolfini, born in 1961, known most for his lead role in The Sopranos. He was born in Westwood, New Jersey, because, of course, he was. James Gandolfini died in 2013.
What movie was he in with Charlie Sheen? Excellent movie. Also, Natasha Henstridge, I believe, was in that one.
Oh, help me out.
Terminal Velocity. It was one where James was, it was 94, and he was on his upward momentum. And
that is either your second Terminal Velocity
love the movie, man. Good movie.
Reference this week or the second in the last 2 weeks. I don't remember.
Whenever James Gandolfini comes in and he's the heel, he's great in the movie, too, because he plays like a district attorney that he's faking to be, but he's really a mob guy from Russia. So he's such a great actor, though. Goodness gracious.
Lance Armstrong, one of the world's greatest cheaters ever. Born on this day in 1971, road cyclist, 7 Tour de France titles, banned for illegal drug use. He was born in Plano, Texas. I mean, you talk about a guy that everybody looked up to and admired and wore the bracelets and all the stuff. And then
hatred.
It all came crashing down because it turned out he was a liar and a cheat. Which I hate. Ronaldo is 48 today, the 1976 year-born Brazilian. Retired soccer player, popularly described as O Fenomeno. Born in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, Fenomeno.
The Phenomena.
I like that.
And he was.
Oh, yeah.
Here's crazy. So today is his birthday, but his birth was not officially registered until September 22nd.
Okay.
I don't know if that means he was.
Something?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. C-Spire text line, how many bikini posters in the Richard Cross room? Jeff, that would be a grand total of 0. Mom and Dad, we're signing off on that. Great ad campaign, Bo knows.
That's the best campaign
One of
ever.
the best of all time. Bo, you don't know diddly.
No, you don't know diddly. And then Bo Diddley was in there, you know. So that's great stuff.
Happy birthday to the U.S. Air Force, says Ed from New Hope.
Definitely.
Well, Ed, I appreciate you saying that because I missed that this morning. Outstanding. This day in the year 324, Roman Emperor Constantine the Great decisively defeated rival Emperor Licinius at Chrysopolis. The battle was the final encounter between the two emperors. After his navy's defeat in the Battle of Hellespont, Licinius withdrew his forces from the city of Byzantium across the Bosphorus to the Chalcedon in Bithynia. Constantine followed and won the subsequent battle. This left Constantine as the sole emperor, ending the period of Tetrarchy. And the period of Tetrarchy was basically when there were 2 emperors in Rome at the same time. By law, there was like a senior emperor and a junior emperor, and that was never going to work.
Yeah, in case one gets knocked off, you got one ready to go. The
United States Capitol building Construction started on this day in 1793. United States President George Washington laid the cornerstone of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. The Great Fire of Moscow was raging on this day in 1812. Burned out after about 5 days, destroying 75% of the city, killed 12,000 people. In 1837, Charles Louis Tiffany and John B. Young co-founded a stationery and fancy goods emporium in New York City. They changed the name in 1853. It was then and is now known as Tiffany and Company.
Did they choose the light blue back in the 1837? Was that the original?
The robin's egg blue boxes, the little blue box.
Wonder if they had that figured out in 1837. You knew it was going to be
stood
iconic.
The test of time.
Yeah, exactly.
Booker T. Washington delivered his famous Atlanta Compromise speech to the Cotton States, an international exposition in Atlanta, Georgia, on this day in 1895. It suggested that blacks focus on vocational education and economic advancement over equality. 1947, the CIA officially comes into existence after being established by President Harry Truman in July. And a few more we'll tell you after the break. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for starting your day with us.
From the Venable Glass Track.
Is that
Of course it is.
Okay. I couldn't decide if I needed to let it go, but I do.
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lamont, he's driving, you know.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV. Maybe ABC could borrow some episodes of Sanford and Son to run in place of Jimmy Kimmel. Woo! You think some of those episodes of Sanford and Son would ruffle some feathers today?
Oh, my Lord. Are you kidding me? That's why you got to watch them. Watch some of those, man.
Oh.
That's good stuff.
That's right. That's right. I'm not saying he got canceled, but he did get suspended. 1951, A Streetcar Named Desire, a film directed by Elia Kazan, based on Tennessee Williams' 1947 play of the same name, starring, by the way, if these two people were in your film in the 1950s and 60s, had a really good chance to be successful, starring Marlon Brando and Vivian Leigh.
Stella! Isn't that right?
Premieres at the Warner Theater in New York.
Vivian Leigh of
Star.
Yeah, a star, of course. And then you get the big guy in there. He was pretty much a top billing. You know, Marlon, excellent actor. Isn't that the one where he goes, Stella?
Yeah, you're asking me questions I don't know the answer to. You were off by a day, Lance. 1965 TV sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, starring Barbara Eden as a 2,000-year-old Jeannie and Larry Hagman as an astronaut who becomes her master, premiered on NBC.
Yeah, I was all about Bewitched. I got them mixed up. Thank y'all for the correction. Mm-hmm. And now we have the I Dream of Jeannie Day, 1965 on this day. It's pretty cool that, I mean, what, Bewitched was one day before? I think there was maybe like a little race going on there.
Wow.
The witch sweepstakes show. I don't know. I mean, that was everything comes in like 2s and 3s in TV, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the shows of that era, or even now, it's almost like there's always another one that is set up to compete with it.
Yeah. 1966, Baltimore quarterback Johnny Unitas throws 4 touchdown passes in a 38-23 win at Minnesota to surpass White A. Tittle as the NFL's career leader with 212. He finished his career with 290 touchdown passes. This day in 1990, Atlanta was chosen to host the 1996, the Centennial Summer Olympic Games. 2024, Tupperware brands. This is just a year ago today. These two things happened 1 year ago today. Tupperware brands, maker of plastic kitchenware since 1948, filed for bankruptcy in Florida.
Man.
How did Tupperware go bankrupt?
How do you go out of business if you're Well, maybe because people still have Tupperware from the 70s. They made it too good.
Possible. Yeah, that is possible.
It's too good a product.
Also a year ago today, walkie-talkies belonging to the Hezbollah armed group explode across Lebanon, killing 20 people and injuring more than 450 as the Israeli defense minister declares we are at the start of a new phase in the war.
Yeah, I want to know the name brand of that, just in case, I go buy some walkie-talkies. I don't want to get a lingering one like at Home Depot or something I've been out in the woods and it's one of those.
Yeah.
But that was ingenious, honestly. I mean, I've never heard anything like that.
Ingenious, yes. And then
diabolical.
Yes, that is it. Like, I was searching my mental thesaurus for the right word, and diabolical is one that will fit. All right, got some news headlines for you this morning. They finally did it. They finally did it for the first time since December. They did it. The Federal Reserve cut its key interest rate by 25 basis points, a quarter point yesterday. Projected it would do so twice more this year as concern grows at the central bank about the health of the nation's labor market. Remember, 2 jobs for the Federal Reserve. Everybody has a job. Inflation stays low, under 2%. Those are their targets. I say everybody has a job. You get the idea.
Maximum employment.
Yeah, the move is the Fed's first cut since December. It lowered the short-term rate to about 4.1%, down from 4.3, give or take. Fed officials, led by Chair Jerome Powell, had kept their rate unchanged all year long as they evaluated the impact of tariffs, tighter immigration enforcement, and other Trump administration policies on inflation and the economy. When Jerome Powell outlined some of the mitigating factors or the factors for the decision, he pointed to some numbers that were not all that rosy right now, although not terrible. You got me thinking, should a president get any credit or blame for the economy in the first year of their presidency? Now, you know how this works, by the way. If the economy is going well, then whomever the president is would want to take credit for that in the first year of their presidency. If it was going poorly, they would want to blame it on the previous administration. But in terms of enacting major economic policy, Lance, doesn't it take a year, at least 6 months, for the effects to show up in numbers that we get back?
Sure, and then you also have quite a bit of the people he wanted to hire that are hanging around, still not even in their job yet. So, I mean, it takes a bit of time to transition in just as a basic president. And then any economic type of impact is going to be a quarter or two out. It's
somebody
similar
says no. Yeah, somebody says no. They should not. They said I wasn't sure what that meant, and then it said at least a year. So agreeing that you shouldn't get credit for, but you also shouldn't take blame for the first year of your new presidency.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think it's definitely.
I mean, that's some pie in the sky utopia stuff, but I'm just throwing it out there. It seems like it might make sense. Powell said this in this less dynamic and somewhat softer labor market. Man, why don't you just use normal speak? The downside risks to employment appear to have risen. There was only one Fed policymaker that dissented from the decision. His name's Stephen Myron. He had been a member of the Fed board for about 5 minutes, literally. Appointed by President Trump, confirmed by the Senate in a rushed vote late on Monday. And he deferred because he wanted a half-point rate cut instead of a quarter point. Powell told reporters there wasn't very much support for the bigger size cut among Fed officials.
I'm never big on the halves. It seems like you've missed something and you're trying to catch up. And in economics,
they have.
It doesn't work very well when you try to double down and triple down.
Yeah, but hold on a second. If I tell you today, hey, I'm going to drop the rate a quarter point, and we are on September the 18th, but I'm going to drop it a quarter point 2 more times before the end of the year. Let's flip it around. You tell me that. You tell me that, Lance. You say, I'm going to drop it a quarter point today. We're going to do another quarter point in October, do another quarter point in December. I might look at you and be like, why don't you just drop it 3/4 of a point today and be done with it?
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me what you're going to do 2 months from now. We're here. Just do it.
I don't like forward-looking statements out of the Fed, honestly. I think they should stick to the meeting, deal with the data that's in front of them, and then allow their decisions to unfold. Then, again, you get back together, do these things. I don't care much for the Fed telling you, hey, we're going to do this a couple more times.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, this is an evolving story. ABC suspended Jimmy Kimmel's late-night show indefinitely, starting last night after comments that he made about Charlie Kirk's killing. And it led a group of ABC-affiliated stations to say it would not air the show and provoked some ominous comments from a top regulator. This is the first edition of the story. But there is another chapter that came out late last night that you may not have heard or read about yet. The veteran late-night comic made several remarks about the reaction to the conservative activist's assassination last week on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Monday and Tuesday nights, including that, quote, many in MAGA land are working very hard to capitalize on the murder of Charlie Kirk, close quote. Kimmel's been on the air since 2003 on ABC. They moved swiftly after Nexstar Communications Group said it would pull the show, starting last night, from their ABC-owned station, or the ABC stations that they own. And they are a big group. Kimmel's comments about his death, quote, are offensive and insensitive at a critical time in our national political discourse, close quote. And that's what we thought happened, right? ABC is owned by Disney, who also owns ESPN. Nexstar, this big affiliate station group owner, said, we're out. We're not carrying Kimmel. And they're like, oh, maybe we need to pull him. Except that wasn't all the story. Nexstar was the first to tell ABC that. But then Sinclair came along, who is the largest owner of ABC television stations across the country, and they said, we're not airing Jimmy Kimmel. In fact, on Friday night, we're going to air a tribute to Charlie Kirk. And ABC was like, hold on a second. He's out. We got a message a little while ago on the C Spire text line. Hold on. Sorry, I had to sneeze.
Bless
My
you.
apologies.
Bless you.
Said you might want to mention this. 1 year ago today was Paul Gallo's last program on the radio. Wow. I didn't read that a second ago when you sent it because I wanted to go back and check against your dates. And, Dave, you are absolutely right. I don't know how you remember that or why you remember that specific day. He said he didn't remember who his last guest was. I don't know. But you're right. September 19th was the first day that I filled in. It was a Thursday. And then I had to travel the next day, so somebody else was here on Friday. And then that following week, I was with you Monday through Thursday. Wow. So many memories. So much good radio. Such a legend, Paul Gallo. Thanks for being with us this morning. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. We got more news stories to get to. We got sports headlines. We have a problem, Lance, a recurring problem, and that's too much stuff and not enough time. We'll get to what we can. But I think we need to pause just for a second and just briefly talk about this Jimmy Kimmel thing. Oh, brother, was the left going last night.
He's their guy.
Censorship, First Amendment rights, draw a red line in the sand. This is the final straw. Chuck Schumer said, I am outraged. Outraged. He couldn't find another word. He used outraged like 7 times in a 30-second interview. This is outrageous. I am outraged. None of them listened yesterday to Tuesday to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi, because there was a concept that we explained quite clearly. Freedom of speech and First Amendment rights is not the same thing as freedom from consequence, especially when it interferes with the business interests of your employer.
Yeah, you'd think after a week somebody might have been paying attention. But
you have the right to say what you believe, what you think, as long as it does not incite violence. You have that right. And when I say you have that right, I mean you can say it, and you cannot be jailed for it. You cannot be arrested for what you say. You have the freedom to do that. You will maintain your freedom regardless of what you say, as long as it is not inciting of violence. You do not have the freedom from consequence. A private employer is well within its rights to terminate your employment if you say or do something that affects its business interests. And when the largest cluster owner of ABC stations and then another larger cluster owner of ABC stations combined north of 50 ABC affiliates across the country say, if you don't take Jimmy Kimmel off the air, we will air alternate programming during that time slot. Well, Richard, let them do it. How does that affect? Oh, come on now. You have national advertising partners, and you say to them, yeah, we got you. We're going to air your spots. But, oh, by the way, 50, half a hundred of the markets that you were expecting to advertise in, it's not going to air there. Why? Well, they're not carrying the show. Okay, well, then I'm not going to pay. And now you have affected the business interest. It's that simple.
Yeah, but when you're a socialist and all that, you don't really care about that, do you? Oh, and I love the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. That was the starting point of the demise of Jimmy Kimmel.
You know the other thing about Jimmy Kimmel, not specific to this, I was thinking about this. David Letterman, Jay Leno, heck, Arsenio Hall, if you want to go back a little bit farther, Conan O'Brien, Craig Kilborn and his stint. They all made jokes about the president. It didn't matter who the president was. George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, went after vice presidents, Dan Quayle, Al Gore. Oh, man, you want to talk about low-hanging fruit. But generally speaking, the jokes were good-natured. Generally speaking. I'd make fun of them, pick at them. Sometimes there was some brilliant writing. But Jimmy Kimmel is hateful. Like, so he came on the air in 2003. So you're catching the back end of W, all of Obama, for whom he was a massive cheerleader. Round one of Trump, where he began to sharpen the talons of hatred toward Donald Trump. Had to live through those 4 years. Then he gets 4 years of Joe Biden, for whom he is an apologist, massive apologist. And then the unthinkable, he gets another round of Donald Trump. And for the last year, he has been insufferable. It's hateful. It's not funny. Like, it's hateful. It's just different than late-night television used to be.
Well,
and you wonder why people don't watch the way they used to.
Well, exactly. I mean, his audience has proven that it's not been palatable to them.
Yeah.
You have Seth and him both. I mean, their viewership is paltry. I mean, there's nothing there. I don't know why
nobody
kept
watches
him on.
Seth Meyers. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel's has gone way, way down, and then old CBS boy out too. At the end of the year, what's his name? Colbert. Stephen Colbert. We owe you some sports headlines. Let's give those to you right now. Sports headlines brought to you every morning by Pearl River Resort. Find them online at pearlriverresort.com. Family fun, casino thrills, live entertainment available to you every single day of the year at Pearl River Resort. Check them out online at pearlriverresort.com. A Mississippi State football legend has passed away. Dwight Douglas Lewis, better known as DD, died at the age of 79 on Tuesday of this week, just 1 month before his 80th birthday. The former linebacker was a 3-year letterman with the Bulldogs and named to the All-SEC team twice in both 1966 and 1967. In his All-American campaign of 1967, he was also named SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Selected 159th overall, 6th round of the NFL draft by the, how about them Cowboys? Dallas Cowboys. That was in 1968. Lance, he went on to play 13 years in the league, all with the Cowboys. Appeared in 5 different Super Bowls, became just the second Bulldog ever to win the big game when he came out victorious in 1972. Followed it up with a second ring at Super Bowl 12 in 1978. D.D. Lewis was just the second Bulldog to be inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame after being inducted in 2001, joining Jackie Parker in the Hall in Atlanta. He is also a member of the Mississippi State University Ring of Honor, inducted there in 2011. One of the all-time greats at Mississippi State, D.D. Lewis, passed away at 79. The Army-Navy game is being honored by the National Football Foundation. They give an annual award called the Distinguished American Award. And while the game itself is not a person, and so can't really be honored as a distinguished American, if you look in the fine print, it says distinguished person or entity who has maintained a lifetime of interest in the game and over a long period of time has exhibited enviable leadership qualities and made a significant contribution to the betterment of amateur football in the United States. I guess the criteria fits, but any award in my mind that you want to give to Army, Navy, Navy, Army, I'm for it. Game was first played in 1890, remains one of the college game's oldest and most storied rivalries. The official recognition is December 9th during the 67th National Football Foundation Annual Awards Dinner. A quote from Archie Manning, chair of the National Football Foundation. Every December, the Army-Navy game becomes one of the most powerful scenes in all of sports. The two fierce rivals play their hearts out for 60 minutes. Then, side by side, they stand together to honor each other's alma maters. It's a vivid reminder that while they compete on the field, they are united in a higher calling to serve our country.
From the Venable...
Your morning Mississippi Lottery update is brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery. MSLottery.com is their website. Check it out for all the numbers, all the things you need to know, including new contests. The Mega Millions jackpot has increased to a whopping $423 million for Friday's drawing, with an estimated cash option of just shy of $187 million. Excitement is building as the prize inches closer to $500 million. Every ticket includes an automatic multiplier that can boost non-jackpot prizes up to 5 times. Don't miss your chance. Get your ticket today at your nearest retailer. It's really fun. It's really fun because there's a big difference in watching that jackpot jump like Powerball is right now from, from 50 million to 55 to 60 to 65. It's up to 99 now. But that Mega Million, whoo, that thing is jumping from drawing to drawing to drawing. MSLottery.com. Hey, I just saw this story this morning. Just like quick gut reaction. I haven't read it. I got no idea of the details. NVIDIA is investing $5 billion into Intel. NVIDIA and Intel will team up to work on custom data centers and personal computer products, NVIDIA said in a press release. The deal is subject to regulatory approvals. Don't we own 10% of that now?
Yeah, if I remember, there was something in there. Huh?
Isn't Intel the company that we took a stake in? This feels like a good thing. I know. Maybe it's not a good thing. Maybe we don't need to be in the ownership business. Maybe. Thomas in Greenwood says this, and I think I agree. He said, I haven't seen Kimmel since the Man Show days, so I can't comment on his show, but why let the administration putting the FCC on the network be the foil? The optics are slap-awful, and it gives credibility to claims of authoritarian rule. I actually agree. I don't love the chair of the FCC running out to the talk shows talking about how bad it is, and we're thinking about sanctioning ABC or Disney further. I don't love that. You got what you wanted. It happened organically. Now, I know Trump planted the seed. Kimmel's not funny. He's going to be off the air in months. But this actually wasn't directed by the Trump administration. It wasn't.
Those old mean capitalists.
I mean, it's really there is a very linear path to Jimmy Kimmel likely being unemployed today, even though we're calling it a suspension. Charlie Kirk shot. Kimmel takes shot at the right. The MAGA movement makes fun of Charlie Kirk's death on the air. People that are watching get mad, and they reach out to their provider, Nexstar or Sinclair or others, and they say, we're mad as heck and we won't take it anymore. And so Nexstar compiles those arguments along with perhaps their own beliefs, and they call big ABC and they say, we're not carrying your guy's show anymore. And then another ownership group that's got more stations and bigger markets, Sinclair, calls in, they say, we're not carrying your guy anymore. And you know what ABC says? Bob Iger, head of Disney. This isn't a president of ABC decision. This is a president of Disney decision. Robert Iger, Bob. He goes, we got to do it. It's too big of a revenue source. He's got to go. Can't cost us this amount of money. We've got shareholders that we're responsible to.
Yeah, and the way I look at that, a lot of these decisions aren't made so quickly. That's the linear
progression.
Yeah, and a lot of these decisions at that level are not made this quickly. It's not a knee-jerk reaction. There were things going on for months where they're like, "This is if he ever does something."
We're teetering on the edge.
We're on the edge here. So I mean, when it happens that quickly, it's not like it was some knee-jerk reaction.
But you know what, Lance? It was teetering on the edge of, man, he's on the edge of saying something that's going to get us in trouble, and we're going to have to get rid of him.
Exactly.
When 50 of your affiliates say, we're not carrying your late-night talk show, instead we're going to air a tribute to Charlie Kirk, it got their attention. And they got it done. Quickly, a couple of other sports stories. Swayze Bozeman, remember him from Southern Miss, Mississippi native? Part of roster moves by the New York Giants heading into Week 3 of the season. The franchise announced a former Mississippi standout, Swayze Bozeman, has been signed full-time to the active roster. He was at Southern from 19 to 23, joins the Big Blue after playing with them last week. So, practice squad on August 28th. Active roster temporarily last week, played in 24 snaps, special teams, 5 on defense. Linebacker by trade has made a name for himself in the special teams game, including helping the Chiefs last year get all the way to the Super Bowl. Contract details have not been released. Very cool for Swayze Bozeman. Man, what a good player. C-Spire text line, remember when Johnny Carson kept politics out of late night and he was actually funny? These guys should take note and follow the OG. That is from Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. And thank you for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 18th of September. We have so much to get to this morning. Chase Parham will join us in the 7 o'clock hour to talk about his new book, Stories from Ole Miss Baseball. William Russell, partner at Ballard Partners, he's going to be by, so will Katie Coates from Visit Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Take a deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Let them help you. Running a business is hard. You got HR, you got paperwork, you got payroll, you got benefits, you got all this stuff to keep up with. And it's taking too much time and too much energy, and it's frustrating. And guess what? There's somebody that specializes in that. They can help you. They can lift the load off your shoulders. They can help share your burden, however you want to look at it. But you won't know if you don't talk to them. MWG Employer Services. They can provide a full range of employer services that fits you, a custom plan that fits you. Learn more online, MWGEmployerServices.com, or give them a call, 601-206-7966. C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Colbert was once patriotic, seemingly. Lawsuits help, too, when making decisions on getting rid of these shows. In the hours leading up, this is a post from Rolling Stone. On X, I guess. In the hours leading up to the decision to pull Jimmy Kimmel, two sources familiar with the matter say senior executives at ABC, its owner Disney, and affiliates convened emergency meetings to figure out how to minimize the damage. Multiple executives felt that Kimmel had not actually said anything over the line, the two sources said, but the threat of Trump administration retaliation loomed. There was another one from some behind the scenes reporting from Rolling Stone. And by the way, take Rolling Stone's reporting division for, as you wish.
Yeah, I was going to say, so this is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he calls a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, as Kimmel poked fun at Trump. So that's not stepping over the line. Thank you, Rolling Stone. I appreciate that.
Jimmy Kimmel Live was taken off the air by ABC and Nexstar after a threat from Trump's FCC chair. They were whizzing themselves all day, one ABC insider tells Rolling Stone. It may be a chicken or the egg thing, okay? Now, look, I'm not exactly assigning Woodward and Bernstein status to Rolling Stone's reporting division, but I have no reason to believe that they didn't talk to somebody at ABC, the media world. Chicken or the egg? Did the FCC say to them, hey, guys, you may want to take care of this? But you have to understand the way that this television world works. So who did the FCC say that to? Did they go to big ABC? Or did they go to Nexstar? Because the quote that Thomas sent us from Rolling Stone, when it says Jimmy Kimmel Live was taken off the air by ABC and Nexstar after a threat from Trump's FCC chair. ABC, you have to think about it as like ABC at the top of the food chain is the parent company. But ABC has to be distributed. So big ABC creates the product, and then little ABC are all of the local stations, the ones in New York and Memphis, Nashville and Las Vegas, Los Angeles and Spokane and Sioux Falls and everywhere in between. And all of those stations have an ownership group. And as is the case in most lines of business, these ownership groups have grown. And it's not like a mom and pop that just owns one television station. It is a corporation that owns 20, 50, 100, 500 television stations. And it's not just one brand. It's not just ABC. It's ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, the CW, and on and on and on. And they all have licenses from the FCC to carry these stations. And so when an affiliate group owner goes to big ABC and says, we've got a problem, they can apply pressure up the food chain. But this was a different type of pressure. And by the way, the original reporting differs from that of Rolling Stone when it said Nexstar applied pressure to ABC. And I went and started looking, and I mean, Nexstar has a significant presence, but they have 23 ABC affiliates. And I think the biggest market they have for an ABC station was Nashville at like market 26. And then they've got a bunch in, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and Syracuse, New York, and there's one in New Orleans, and they're spread all over the country. But this is not the affiliate group that has the ability to pressure ABC so hard that they would make a decision to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel. But then Sinclair Broadcasting comes along, and they did the exact same thing that Nexstar did. When Sinclair comes along and says, we're not airing the show at night, you got a problem. 185 stations owned or operated in 85 different markets across the country. And let's see if I can... I was trying to figure out what stations they had in different places. Oh, here they are. Abilene, Amarillo, Birmingham, Champaign, Illinois, Charleston, West Virginia. They're scattered. They're all over the place. Chattanooga, Columbus, Ohio, Dayton, Ohio, Eureka, Kansas. I mean, so between the two entities, talking about 50 or so ABC affiliates that said, we're not carrying him. And that became a problem. Mose says the Rolling Stone has been a communist propaganda sheet for decades. Why are you surprised when they take the low road? And I don't know that they necessarily took the low road. Like, you can take the same information and write it in a way that you've got some plausible deniability, but you can put a certain slant on it. And, Chris, I think that's what they did. I'm sorry, Mose, I think that's what they did. Chris in Boonville says, as a Trump supporter, this feels like government censoring. I say this without fully knowing what was said. I agree in that I don't like that the FCC applied the pressure. Tucker Carlson had really strong words yesterday when he said if the United States ever becomes a place where speech is actually censored, then that will be the time for great civil unrest. Now,
well, I mean,
in breaking news, Tucker Carlson grabs a flamethrower. But I agree with him. Free speech is a foundational right.
Yeah, but it's also been very abridged before Trump. I mean, under Biden and many others that came before. So, I mean, this isn't new. It's just coming from the right now. Is that what's upsetting people? Is that the right actually has stood up and said enough's enough? Again, I don't think that censorship in this form the government should be doing. If the people that tune into these programs are upset and they voice their concern, as you would to your, say, congressman when something doesn't go right, and it follows the appropriate chain up the ladder and they fire people because they've offended folks, I'm all for that. Don't think the government should get involved in it. But at the end of the day, what are people really upset about? That the right is standing up to what the left has been doing for God knows how long? Yeah. I mean, didn't we have cancellations and wokeness and people losing jobs and all that because they didn't agree and spoke up? I mean, so what is everybody so upset about? That the right's actually standing up for themselves?
The difference in the whole cancel culture right now versus what we were dealing with a few years ago. From a few years ago, it was, let's see how far we can dig into people's past and go find something that they said years ago and drag it out and cancel them for it. And nothing seemed to be off limits. At least this is an immediate reaction to something that just happened, and we go, no, it's not okay for you to react that way, and I'm not going to support you for it. Not going to. Chase Parham will join us next. We'll lighten things up a little bit as we talk about his new book, Stories from Ole Miss Baseball. Chase Parham and Jeff Robertson wrote that together.
From the Venable Glass,
Mississippi.
I'll read you an excerpt. A lot of stories in a book titled Stories from Ole Miss Baseball. You go back to the 60s when Tom Swayze was the coach of the Rebels. He was a character. Robert Kyatt was the catcher for Ole Miss. And to tell you how far college baseball has come, most of Ole Miss's home games were umpired by a two-man crew out of Memphis, and they had the same lead umpire every game. And Tom Swayze was kind of going crazy that particular day, and the home plate umpire by the name of Mooney told Kyatt, you got to go calm your coach down. And he said, I can't do it. You've got to do it. And so in between innings, he went over, and Mooney said to Tom Swayze, you've got to calm down. Swayze renewed his energy. Mooney said, all right, Tom, you're out of here. He said, what do you mean I'm out of here? The umpire says, I mean, you're out of the game. I'm throwing you out. And Tom Swayze says, Mooney, you can't do that. And Mooney says, why? He says, you can't throw a college coach out of a game. The umpire said, you can't? And Swayze stayed in the game. Chase Parham joins us right now. He is co-author alongside Jeff Robertson with Stories from Ole Miss Baseball. The foreword is written by former Ole Miss baseball and football player Archie Manning, and it is available in bookstores and online to you right now. Chase, good morning.
Morning, Richard. Good to be with you.
Just one of the stories, and you know it's so incredibly interesting. So much of Ole Miss baseball's history is in the last 25 years, and yet there was a lot of baseball before the last 25 years when Mike Bianco came on board. Just pockets of success as opposed to sustained success.
Yeah, it's one of those things where with this book, what I really like about it is introducing the kind of pre-modern era to a lot of Ole Miss baseball fans. With the Mike era has been incredible. They get the national title. But, when Ole Miss went to the College World Series for the fourth time, they had gone as much as the rest of the SEC combined at that point. There was a really rich history for Ole Miss baseball in the 50s and 60s, and a lot of two-sport guys. I mean, we talk about, obviously, throughout the book with Jake Gibbs and Don Kessinger, the two-sport All-Americans. But a lot of guys who played both sports, won Sugar Bowls, and went to the College World Series in the same year. There's a ton from that era that is really fascinating. And look, Richard, we go all the way back. The school says baseball started in 1893, but we've tracked it back to 1871. And in the 1870s, one of my favorite things, I think it's the first story in the book, the team sent a letter to the Lyceum and said, hey, we'd like to play a game in Water Valley. We need permission to go do that. We promise to stay away from the whiskey and be back in school by Monday. And the Lyceum still sent a faculty representative with them on that trip.
Did the faculty rep bring the whiskey, or do we know?
Hey, who knows? Yeah. But, I mean, you think about it, you go, hey, it's just Water Valley, but in 1870s, you got to get over there somehow. So,
yeah, but I feel like you could walk to Water Valley and if there was a horse-drawn carriage. Now, the poor horse that had to carry the bag with all the bats in it, I mean, that's heavy. One of the things, Chase, this is not your first foray. You wrote I've got it back here on my shelf somewhere behind me, but a history of the Ole Miss National Championship. Somewhere back there.
Did you dust it off yesterday and just put it back on the shelf behind you this morning to set you up for the show? Is that what you did?
No.
You're talking about Resilient Rebs,
I mean,
right?
I've got the poster behind my head.
Right there.
I can move.
See, right there. Lower shelf.
Yeah, got it. Resilient Rebels.
There you go.
Wait, I can't find the camera.
All right.
There it is. So the point was in all of that is you've written a book before. This is different. That was a story about a window in time, a 1-year window with a lot of great reporting and a lot of backstory there. This is a history of a sport at a university and has a co-author. Talk to me about process.
So this first got introduced to me by Jeff Robertson, as you mentioned, my great co-author, and I was first drawn to it just because of the people. Jeff hired me for my first job out of college. He was then at the Ole Miss Spirit in 2007, and we worked together for a couple of years. We've been in baseball press boxes. We've traveled together all over the country during the course of our kind of our workship and our friendship. And then Neil White with Nautilus Publishing brought the idea to us. He did a football version of this book a few years ago. And Neil was incredibly instrumental in helping me and guiding me through the process with my first book in 2022. And it starts pretty simple. You start dividing out, hey, who do you know better? Who do I know better? How do we do this? What do the errors look like? And you start sort of outlining it and mapping it, because you're right. You want it to be a history book, but you need it to be entertaining at the same time. So, hey, who are the characters? What do we have to do? What do you have to make sure about? And baseball is so cool because while in Oxford and Starkville and Hattiesburg, Mississippi loves their college baseball. They dictate the spring calendar by it. You feel it in town, the ebbs and the flows with the team and how it's going throughout the spring, and that happens all over the state. You want to find a way to resonate that feeling inside the book. And when you're doing that, you're going, hey, unlike football where most people know all the stories, there's a ton of untapped stuff in baseball that not everybody knows. And I thought that was a pretty great opportunity to try to not just show the best players and the best moments, to try to explain in short form, why does it matter? Why do people care to the point that they care about college baseball in this state? And I hope we did that. We've got stories in there about fans and about prominent figures outside of just simply the team. The goal is to talk about the transition into the modern era, how things have progressed from back in the 50s when Ole Miss had won the SEC and wasn't allowed to go because of, segregation. I mean, there's all that even back inside this book. But the goal is to give you that feeling and hope that it makes a great gift and give others the feeling of simply what it was like, what it's like in the spring throughout these towns. Not that different from the 22 book. I mean, the goal with that 22 team as they win the title was all the crazy things happening, not really on the field, but the story behind the story, if you will.
Yeah. I guess there is a goal I don't know. I've never written a book. So if you write a book, what are you trying to accomplish? And I'm just thinking out loud here. I mean, I'm assuming you want people to learn something. You'd like to make them think a little bit. Maybe you make them laugh somewhere along the way. Perhaps you make them cry, and maybe you make them remember, especially in a book like this. And I'm thinking about your 2022 book, The Resilient Rebs. I mean, it absolutely took you down memory lane. It made you think. At times it made you, if not laugh out loud, at least smile really big. And doggone if the story about T.J. McCants didn't make you just put it down because the tears were just overwhelming you. What about with this? It's a coffee table book, and it's not a book that you've got to sit down and read from beginning to end, chronologically for it to make sense. What's the goal in a book like this?
Yeah, that was one of the big things when I first started, because there's two things. There's a goal for me personally, and there's a goal of what you're trying to get out of the book. And like I said, I wanted to work with those people. I've covered Ole Miss baseball now for over 2 decades, and Jeff had covered it forever. And I thought, hey, this book's going to happen at some point, and if it happens, it should be Jeff and the two of us writing it. I mean, I think that maybe that's ego, maybe that's whatever, but that's the way I felt about this. And then, as you're saying, yeah, you want people to pick it up, and you want them to learn something, see something, and then at some point in there connect to some memory on why this thing matters. To me, that's what writing is. It's just like anything else. It's about the freaking people. It's about the people and the emotions. And it's far different, because you want this to be something that in 5 years they flip through and it doesn't feel dated. You've got to write it in a way that is somewhat timeless, because these stories have happened in the past and you're simply documenting them for the present and in the future. And yeah, to me, that's the goal. It's to learn something, but it's beyond that. It's really more to flip through and find some connection, whether you remember that player or something you didn't know and you kind of light up from that fact or that factoid. And that's why we didn't focus this on, hey, let's make sure every era is represented evenly, or let's not make it too encyclopedia based. Let's just make it fun, or as fun as possible. And I think it's for the casual fan all the way to somebody who goes to every game and has been integrated with this program for 40 years.
Where can people get signed copies of this? I know you guys have got your big book tour, Lemuria coming up, going to be at Square Books in Oxford coming up as well, right?
Yeah, we got 3 signings coming up here in the next week. We've got Lemuria, 4:30 to 6 on Tuesday, September 23rd. We're doing a big kind of kickoff signing event on the 26th at Square Books. That's 11 to 1. We got a lot of former players coming, former coaches coming to that thing, kind of a party. And then September 30th, we're going to be in Tupelo at Reed's in Oxford, also at College Corner as well. So those signed copies, we want to make sure we celebrate the local bookstores, the great book scene in Mississippi. We give them a little head start before we put that thing online, but you can order online from any of those locations as well, even if you're not inside the state of Mississippi. You're going to be at one of those signings.
This is incredibly unfair, but final question. Give me one story that stands out to you. I hesitate to say favorite. I'm not going to make you do that, but we got 30 seconds. Favorite story that or one that stands out.
It's not even about a player. It's about Stacy Blackwell, a Jackson resident who is blind, and he listens to Ole Miss baseball religiously, and his eyes are David Kellum. And he talks about setting up the Bosch radio next to his chair, and he listens to Kellum. He's Stephen Head's cousin, and he has completely become an Ole Miss baseball fan without ever seeing a pitch. And that is my favorite. He was able to meet David a few years ago, and it's an incredible thing about how this isn't as simple as, hey, I've watched some baseball games. It really does. It connects with people and makes you feel some things.
Super Talk Mississippi.
My thanks to Chase Parham and his co-author Jeff Robertson. Stories from Ole Miss Baseball available. You heard next Tuesday they will be at Lemuria in Jackson in the evening for a book signing there, and then in Oxford the following Friday. That's the 29th. 6th, Friday before the Ole Miss LSU baseball game. Middle of the day book signing at Square Books, and then at Reed's in Tupelo the following week. Or I think it's end of the month of September. So be sure to check that out. It's a really, really cool book, and you can read a couple of stories at a time, or you can sit down and take an afternoon and just bury yourself in it. But there's a lot of really cool stuff in the book. So thanks to Chase for joining us. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We are glad to be with you this morning. Still coming up in the 8 o'clock hour, William Russell will join us. William has been involved with Republican politics for a long time, was the state advisor to the Trump campaign here in Mississippi, now partner at Ballard Partners in D.C., and we'll talk with him about some of the reaction inside the Beltway to the Charlie Kirk shooting and some of the aftermath from that as well. We got to talk about this story a little bit out of Delta State from earlier in the week. From Delta State's standpoint, a tip of the cap to you, to the university president, to the police department, because it seems as if you have, by the book, letter of the law, letter of the rule, dotted every I, crossed every T, taken a tragic, awful situation and handled it in the best possible way that you can handle it as a university. My guess is the president of the university, when he first found out on Monday morning that a student had hanged himself on campus, his first thought was not that they're going to be calls from Washington for a federal investigation because of the history of the state of Mississippi. My guess is that his first thought was not a high-profile civil rights lawyer is going to be hired, air quotes, by the family to try and push for investigation and create as much publicity as possible. My guess is that the president at Delta State was simply worried about the students on campus. That President Enos, Dr. Daniel Enos, was simply sad and shocked and immediately got to work on how they were going to handle the situation. But because of all of those other things, Delta State had a press conference again yesterday with law enforcement officials to provide an update on the status into the investigation of Demartravian Reed, Trey Reed, a native of Grenada whose body was discovered by a university staffer early on Monday morning hanging from a tree. Because social media strikes again within 48 hours, you had lots of people that were claiming it was a modern-day lynching in a state with a history of racist violence. Now, where in the world would people get the idea that this is a modern-day lynching? Why would their minds immediately go there? Yes, the state's history is such that when a young black man is found hanging from a tree, you can get there. I understand that. But the roadmap to getting there is sure made a whole lot less curvy when the congressman from that district of the state of Mississippi comes out and goes, we need a full federal investigation, an independent investigation, because of our state's history of lynching. Ready, fire, aim. Right, Benny? Right, Congressman Thompson? Did you get the desired effect? It's what you wanted, isn't it? You see, most of our elected officials, whether they are Republicans or Democrats, want what is good for the state of Mississippi. I think Benny Thompson, I genuinely believe that Benny Thompson would rather a negative story be written about Mississippi, because then he can go to the people in his district across the Delta and say, oh, I'm going to defend you against these nasty things. I'm going to stand up for you. I'm the one that shined a light. So what do we get out of the press conference? What do we get? Did we get story from law enforcement? And oh, by the way, never mind the idea that Benny Thompson immediately without cause, calls into question the integrity of the Delta State Police Department, the Cleveland, Mississippi Police Department, the state of Mississippi's Bureau of Investigation, and anybody else from Mississippi, the state that he represents in Washington, D.C., never mind that he immediately, without any information, calls into question the integrity of every man and woman that works in those law enforcement agents. Shame on you, Benny Thompson. You do not deserve to represent the state of Mississippi. Shame on you. And oh, by the way, what do we get from police? A coroner's preliminary examination found Reed did not have any broken bones or injuries consistent with assault. At this point, we don't have evidence of foul play. Delta State Police Chief Michael Peeler reiterated during yesterday's press conference. He added that Reed's body had been transported, but don't take our word for it. We have sent the body to the Mississippi State Crime Lab. Their examinations are underway. Preliminary autopsy results will be available in the next 2 days. And then what else do we have to do? What else do we have to do if we're Delta State in this deal? Well, apparently now, Dr. Daniel Ennis, the university president, has to defend his actions because of an accusation by someone in the family. The family, through their attorney, what's his name, Lance?
The attorney?
Yeah, I got it. Crump.
Yeah, Crump, that's him. Yes, sir.
Same attorney that represented the families of Trayvon Martin, George Floyd, and Henrietta Lacks, among other cases, said that the university had not reached out to the family. Well, that's pretty callous. That's pretty cold of Dr. Ennis, except it's not true. Dr. Ennis maintains that since the incident that he has been in frequent contact with Reed's next of kin. Who is that? Who are we talking about? The emergency contacts that the student had on his university registration form. And he did say, the university president did, I can go ahead and say that I recognize that some family are not the names that Trey gave us. I'm sorry. We are sharing all the information that we can and will continue to work through the people that the student chose when he put his name on that form. That's the kind of protocol that almost every university in America would follow. And if we do not follow that protocol, I don't think we're being respectful to the choice the student made. So, Trey Reed himself said, in the event that something happens to me from a medical standpoint, these are the people that I authorize you to talk to. And that is who the university has talked to. And so someone in the family that has hired this civil rights attorney tells the attorney, we hadn't heard from him. And what does the attorney do? He finds the first microphone he can and goes, Delta State University hasn't even contacted the family. Okay. There is video of the incident. Delta State's president has let us know that, as has the police department there. But we haven't seen the video yet because it is part of the investigation. Here's hoping that the video just shines light on this is exactly what happened. If it turns out the story is different than what it seems on the surface and that everyone associated with Delta State is lying, I will offer to you publicly a mea culpa that is larger than any. And I will tell you how awful what I said was and how wrong I was. If that happens, I will apologize. But there is nothing, not one thing yet to suggest that any of what is accused by these outside players is what actually happened.
From the Venable Glass Traffic,
Mississippi.
I went home with the waitress, the way I always do. How was I to know she was with the Russians too?
Good to be with you on this Thursday morning. Weekend just around the corner. Today is the 18th of September. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. A reminder that in the 8 o'clock hour, we will be giving away a pair of tickets for you to a Jason Aldean concert coming up in January in Tupelo. More information on the way. Sports Talk Mississippi tomorrow will be in Hernando as Hernando High School celebrates the opening of its brand new state-of-the-art campus. Plus, the Hernando Tigers football team will host Center Hill for homecoming after the show. That's Sports Talk Mississippi in Hernando for the opening of the new campus, including a new high school football stadium at Hernando High. That is on the way. And a reminder, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Ratchet Entertainment Group is turning up the energy this fall with football Friday nights in Oxford. 3 epic nights, 3 incredible bands. Kicks off tomorrow night with Freedom Fest 6 at the Powerhouse. Relive the soundtrack of your college years with Walrus, the ultimate college radio rock band, performing the best of The Clash, The Cure, REM, NXS, The Replacements, and more. You think they'll do Man on the Moon?
NXS, that's one I haven't heard in a while.
Man on the Moon was REM, right?
Yeah, that's REM. You'd have to think they'll hit the big REM ones, but I mean, if you can talk as fast as Michael Stipe can, I want to hear it. You know, I want to hear that. That dude can spit them out, man.
And then Friday, the 26th, the night before Ole Miss takes on LSU, experience Oxford's ultimate Friday night throwdown with the 5-star Funk Lounge at the Lyric. Halloween night, eve of the Ole Miss South Carolina game, it's the Molly Ringwalds and their return to the Lyric. They will take you on a wild ride through the biggest hits of the 80s. Get your tickets now at OleMissConcerts.com. By the way, the sad part of what has unfolded in Cleveland and at Delta State over the last couple of days is that a tragedy happened there as well. Trey Reed, a 21-year-old Mississippian's life, is no longer with us. And regardless of the circumstances of his death, that's sad. That's someone in what should still be almost the infancy of life. And so to those who cared about Trey, his friends, his family, people that he was associated with, we do offer our condolences. Sad. And it's doubly sad that if you were in the process of trying to grieve and try to come to grips with the reality of Trey not being around anymore, you're having to do so with all of this going on, this sideshow going on. 8 o'clock hour, William Russell will join us. We talked about the news of the Fed's rate cut. 25 basis points, a quarter percentage point, with 2 more of those anticipated in the coming months before the end of the year. So what does that mean for you? As it pertains to mortgage rates, not a ton. At least not this particular rate cut. Unlikely to make a noticeable difference for most customers at the time of the announcement, according to Bankrate financial analysts, saying that much of the impact on mortgage rates has already occurred through anticipation alone. So they thought it was so likely that the rate was coming that they went ahead and have adjusted rates down a little bit. If you have high interest savings accounts, the interest rate that you get may be going down a little bit. Falling interest rates will slowly erode attractive yields currently on CDs and HYSAs, or high yield savings accounts, that are currently somewhere between 4 and 5%. Those will go down a little bit. If you are looking at auto loan rates to go down, and they've been high for the last couple of years, probably not going to get that. You can still expect new car loans to be in the neighborhood of 7%. And credit card rates currently averaging about 20%. You may get some relief, but it's going to take a little bit of time. Probably would be far more impactful for congressional action with caps on credit card interest rates than the lowering of the Fed number to get you a more favorable rate on your credit card. Thanks for being with us this morning. An hour left. We've got more coming. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross, MRC on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
But it's all over now. That I used to love her, but it's all over now.
You the inside track on Mississippi politics. Yeah! Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You've got it locked in. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for making us part of your day. The C Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. As I do about once a month, I want to very, very publicly issue an invitation to Congressman Benny Thompson to join me on the air. You have an open invitation. We need very, very little notice. I will cancel anything we have scheduled to visit with you on the air. I know you're not listening, but maybe somebody that is associated with you is, possibly. I would even cancel a conversation with our next guest, William Russell. Hey. He is a partner at Ballard Partners. He has worked extensively in Republican politics in Mississippi. And, oh, by the way, William knows as well as anybody that there is no risk of him being canceled because of Benny Thompson being on this show. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Richard. Thanks for having me again.
Man, what a week. What a week across the country. What a week in Washington, D.C. Give us a sense of what the last 7-8 days have been like since Charlie Kirk was shot Wednesday of last week. We're now into Thursday morning. And, I mean, a week ago right now, we were talking about it. We were remembering the anniversary, the 24-year anniversary of September 11th. We were trying to make sense of the Charlie Kirk story, and here we are a week later with some time to digest it. Does it make any more sense now than it did?
Oh, boy. There's a lot of sadness in this city. Obviously, Charlie Kirk was father, a husband, a friend of mine, and he was a titan. He was a giant in this conservative movement, in this MAGA movement. Now, MAGA is a pliable term. MAGA means something different to every person that you ask. But for him, he was representative of a group of people who felt like they didn't have a voice. And it's kind of weird. And I think that a lot of my friends here in DC who followed Charlie Kirk like I did, kind of hold this position that an interesting paradox arises when in Charlie's death, the point was to silence him, but his voice, as we've seen just on social media,
amplified,
and other influencers who have stepped up, it's only going to get louder, which is a great way to honor him in his death, is to continue on, because at the end of the day, his message wasn't a divisive one. It was love God, have kids. It's very simple. He was above all a Christian, and he stood for the nuclear family. He stood for kind of having some morality in our culture, which when you get to the crux of it, it's a heart issue that we're talking about with American culture right now. I mean, the fact that we've got people celebrating this in a vile way, and have been for several days now without stop. I mean, we're seeing people like who out there thinks it's okay to see someone, and not a politician, this is not a dictatorial leader, this is not someone who's, a mass criminal, get executed in such a public way that we as Americans can all see from the palm of our hand, and then think, yeah, this is the answer to the question, and celebrate that. It's devoid of any sort of moral compass.
William, there's so many directions I'd like to go, but we spent some time yesterday talking about the way this news is being consumed, the way it's being distributed, and also this seeming race to fill the void left by Charlie Kirk. And I'm curious, in D.C., how much air is the conspiracy theory side of this story getting? I mean, I think most of us, look at this and go, this is pretty straightforward. Like, you have a suspect, there's evidence that ties the suspect to the shooting, he's going to get the death penalty, this is tragic, let's learn more about him. But you have some people with really, really big voices that are trying to spin some very different stories about what happened or why it happened. How much air is that getting in D.C.?
Inside the Beltway, I don't think it's getting a lot of air. You're going to have to. There are several different air quote conspiracy theories around this. I think that a conspiracy theory that's not actually a conspiracy theory is, and one of the ones that will be treated as a conspiracy theory by the left and by liberals, is that the violence is mostly coming from the right. I mean, that you're being gaslit right now as an American public into believing that conservatives are the ones who are doing this killing. Mm-hmm. And I for one, there is no one among us who is innocent. I mean, we have our own problems on our side. We have our own mass casualty.
Charlie Kirk was pretty quick to admit that, wasn't he?
Correct. But I do want to take a look at some of the most notable mass casualty situations over the past several years and start drawing some lines here. I just alluded to this. It's a heart problem. It's a heart posture problem. Part of that is this woke culture that encourages people to not only disagree, but to dehumanize the person. I've been hit with this. Like, how do I have a real conversation with someone I disagree with when I, as a conservative, don't hate that person? I hate your ideas. I don't want you to be in power. I don't want you to be the governor of a state. I don't want you to be the president of the United States. But you're still a person, and still going to treat you like a person. Where I, Richard, can tell you, after my 9 years of working for President Trump in a variety of different capacities, people, the left, looks at me and not only do they not agree with my beliefs, my principles, my arguments for whatever it is that I'm doing as a conservative, they hate me. They think that I'm the problem. I've lost friends, I've lost family members who will not talk to me. And this started from very early on when I was working with then candidate Trump. I've lost friendships and I've lost family members over this just because of a guy that I'm working for. That it's the dehumanizing of your opposition, air quote, whoever that may be, that is putting this culture in a bad situation. Now, the question then becomes, what do we do next, right? And I think that we're starting to see some of that in our culture, on social media, in places of employment, businesses, higher education. We're starting to see some of the leadership say, okay, you are more than welcome to have your opinion, and we are not going to stop you from sharing it. But when you're out there actively celebrating the death of a man who had absolutely, no bearing other than nothing he did, his only crime was talking, right? Sharing his opinion and asking others to share theirs. To see you celebrating that, but he was connecting, William, and I think that was the concern of the left. Like, this guy is saying things that I disagree with and that I think are hateful because I disagree with them, and a whole bunch of people are listening to him, and a whole bunch of people who felt like they didn't have a voice for the last few years are finding their voice, and they're saying, we're not going to listen to the leftist crap anymore. We're going to fight back. We're going to stand up for what we believe in. And the thing that we believe in that was growing, to me, the most heart-filling thing was this message of faith and the message of Jesus as Savior that people were emboldened to say in a way that I haven't seen in my lifetime. That's exactly right. That's the scary part. So I'm a member of the Presbyterian Church, PCA. And I've got, my dad's an elder, my grandfather was an elder, and one of the things that, in the church, and one of the things that was kind of expressed to me as I was growing up, and they would take on these positions of leadership within our local churches. Mm-hmm. The more that you start doing things like this, being in more prominent positions, being in positions of leadership, whether it be in your community, whether it be in your church, wherever it's going to be, even with your own family, the more that you start taking on more responsibility and trying to do what's right, the harder you're going to get hit by the enemy. That's our ultimate enemy, right? Mm. Sin is evil. The devil is going to come at you. The harder that you go, the more that you try to be in line, the harder he's going to come at you. And I think Charlie Kirk, we saw evil happen last Wednesday. We saw the devil. There's no question about that. No question. William Russell, my guest, he's a partner at Ballard Partners, has worked on the Trump campaign at the state level, at the national level. You heard him say for the last 9 years. He's going to hang with us through the break. We're going to talk about free speech when we come back. What about the decision to get rid of Jimmy Kimmel? Is this a free speech violation, or is this consequence for actions? We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Good to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. William Russell is my guest. He lives in D.C. now, but he is from Mississippi. We don't have to talk about who he cheers for, but a lot of reason to be excited for you and your Bulldog brethren over the last few weeks.
Oh, yeah. 3-0, baby. I was not expecting this. So this is kind of I shed a couple tears after that Arizona State win.
Did you really?
My wife and I went. Oh, yeah. It was the first time my wife's from Michigan. And she's a Michigan State Spartan. And so she's experienced a lot of Big Ten football. Mm-hmm. This is the first time we were sitting in the stands, and she looked around, probably third, was beginning of the fourth quarter, and she looked at all the students and she said, "They're here?" And I was like, "Yeah, they stayed the entire game." She was like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "They would have all been gone, by this time at our football games." I'm like, "No, we take our football pretty seriously down here. It's kind of an intense thing."
Great student crowd last week against Alcorn State as well. I certainly tip my cap to them for that. Enjoy the ride. It certainly has been fun so far, and it's hard not to like Jeff Levy.
It is.
Freedom of speech is something that the right has championed for a really, really long time. It's, I think, a core to our society. I heard Tucker Carlson say if freedom of speech is truly curtailed, then that should be the time for civil unrest. Go figure, Tucker throwing with a flamethrower. But we get this news about Jimmy Kimmel. And I argued earlier this morning that this is not a violation of his free speech, of his First Amendment rights, but rather a consequence of his actions. Because you do have freedom of speech, but you don't have freedom from consequence, especially when you affect the business interests of your employer, which is what was happening at ABC with some of its affiliate owners. What do you make of this? Because there are a lot of people, Chuck Schumer at the top of the list, saying that he is outraged by this. And we had Van Jones on CNN say that this was crossing a red line. What do you make of all of it?
Who's crossing the red line? Is it the businesses that are crossing a red line? Because the government wasn't the one that fired Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel doesn't work for the U.S. government. And it doesn't work for the FCC. I mean, the FCC is a regulatory body, but at the end of the day, this is an ABC decision. This is Disney's decision. I would argue that this isn't even something that the federal government, they picked up on it after Nexstar was the one who said, we're canceling Jimmy Kimmel. This is a reaction to the market is what this is. And so, yeah, I mean, you do have free speech in this country. But as we talked about in the last segment, we've seen how you're more than welcome to exercise your freedom of speech, but don't be surprised when you have repercussions for the way that you talk in a public space. That's the bottom line. And that's what we're dealing with Jimmy Kimmel. That's what we're dealing with teachers and people in places of employment, the big businesses that care about the image that they are presenting to the public. And that's, at the end of the day, again, in life, you have consequences for your actions. That has always been the way. And I think that the change that we've seen in Charlie's death is that people, and it doesn't necessarily, I'm not talking specifically conservatives, Republicans, I'm talking about people writ large who have some semblance of a moral compass, are standing up and saying, maybe that's not right. Maybe that's not what we should be saying. Maybe that's not how we should be presenting this to other Americans, to our kids who are watching us, to other countries. This isn't what America is. To mock and to make light of and to minimize a tragedy. It doesn't matter. Again, on the political spectrum, it doesn't matter who that was. It was a tragedy. It was an influencer that had an impression on millions of people around the world. And again, I go back to this dehumanizing thing because this is, at the end of the day, what we're talking about. We're dehumanizing other people. And that's exactly what Jimmy Kimmel did.
I agree with all of the things that you're saying there, William. The part that is concerning for me, though, is the chair of the FCC coming out and kind of after the fact threatening Disney with potential further sanctions or, further investigation. It doesn't feel to me like that is the role of the FCC.
Maybe not, but that is also kind of the role of the FCC. Like, if you have, let's change the scenario here, and in this scenario, nobody actually dies. It's if Jimmy Kimmel were to come on air and start espousing anti-Semitic tropes, started blasting racist epitaphs all over his show, do we think that that's not going to have a repercussion of any way? That's kind of what I'm equating these two, because these are both vile things that we're talking about. The way that he handled Charlie Kirk's death, the mockery that he made of it, and a potential of having anti-Semitic conversation or racist propaganda that he's putting up. These are things that are not going to be tolerated at the end of the day. And this is, I'm thankful that we have an executive branch that's strong enough to say, no, this isn't right. And if that means more investigations, so be it. If that means more calls for people who shouldn't be projecting this to the American public, to the public writ large, so be it. I'm okay with this, because it's not okay. And we, as moral people, need to start calling out things that are amoral. That's how we get better.
Visiting for just a couple more minutes with William Russell. He's a partner at Ballard Partners. New partner there. Congratulations on that. And former Trump chair in Mississippi and campaign advisor in Mississippi. Always enjoy the conversations. Maybe kind of putting a bow on this. There is no denying by anybody the impact that Charlie Kirk had. We visited with a high school student yesterday that told us about the impact that he had on him and his friends, and kind of the empowerment that they felt as a result of some of the message of Charlie Kirk. And so you had this giant voice that was connecting, especially with young people at the high school and the college age. How does that void get filled? Because it does feel like there's already this fight's not the right word, like this shuffling of people trying to slide in. Other right-leaning commentators that say they're going to continue to carry the mantle of Charlie Kirk. But he connected with people in a way that very few have. So what does this look like going forward in your mind?
You're asking questions. I'm a big enough man to admit when I don't know, and that's kind of where I am right now. I think part of this is there's still a grieving process. Like, we're going to have a memorial service in Arizona on Saturday, so there's still, I think, before we get to the posturing of who comes next, we still need to kind of wrestle with the reason why we are where we are today, what's going on. And my prayer, my hope is that, love them or hate them, and TPUSA has done great things, but they're not the only ones out there. There's Leadership Institute on college campuses. There's local Republicans on college campuses that are doing great work. But to fill the void of Charlie Kirk himself, I don't really know the answer to that question, because he had this unique ability to embrace debate, especially on a pivotal place like a college campus, and really lean into that, and it not be offensive, and it be disarming, and not be rude. I guess it's the lack of a better word. That's kind of the way he was. Like, you didn't see him openly mock his questioners on a college campus. He just simply brought it down to the facts, which, if my hope, my prayer, again, is that somebody rises through the ranks that is willing to have the conversation at that level and willing to go to the people the way that Charlie did, and is going to espouse the same kind of things that Charlie espoused, and also not be offensive, because it's so easy today. And we see this from influencers on social media all the way up through the top of the food chain in our political spectrum, to say offensive things, to be a gaslighter, to be a flamethrower on social media. And I think the way that Charlie kind of presented, the way that Charlie definitely presented, we need somebody like that who's willing to embrace debate and still view the person on the other side as a fellow human being, as exactly who they are. Whoever can do that, that's going to be the person that steps up, I think, and rises to the top and replaces Charlie.
William Russell, always appreciate your time. Enjoyed the conversation this morning. We'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Half an hour left with you. We will change directions coming up next when we are joined by Katie Coates. She's Director of Marketing and Communications with Visit Mississippi. Pasadena, California. That's what we're talking about when we come back.
From the
One of the great traditions of New Year's Day is football. But before the football begins, in anticipation for the start of a great football day, many televisions are tuned to the Rose Parade in Pasadena, California. The Rose Parade, the Tournament of Roses Parade, is put on by the City of Pasadena and the Tournament of Roses Committee, and it gets millions of eyeballs every single year. Last year, for the very first time, the state of Mississippi decided to put a float in the Rose Parade. Katie Coates joins us now. She is Director of Marketing Communications at Visit Mississippi. Katie, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being with us. This was a really fun story a year ago, and we've heard a little bit about it. But let's rewind to when this idea first began. Hey, let's take a chance. Let's put a float in the Tournament of Roses parade that is broadcast all over the United States. Where did this idea first originate?
You know, when we were first exploring this opportunity, it's not the first time that a state tourism office has done it. So, of course, we had to look into it as well. We can be competitive and want to be on the same stages that they are. And so we were looking into it and saw the benefit of the exposure of just the, around 3-minute live commercial on national television alone is something we couldn't do. And so to be able to do that was such a unique piece that shared so many different facets of Mississippi through every corner, through, all these live flowers. We just thought we couldn't pass it up.
And how did it go? I mean, you have announced that there will be a float again this year. I'm assuming that means you feel like the return on investment was pretty good.
Yes. So last year, the theme of our float was the birthplace of America's music. It launched a year-long campaign that we're still in, celebrating B.B. King and Elvis Presley, both celebrating milestone birthdays this year. And we saw the ROI just for the live broadcast alone was wonderful, and all the earned, media that came along with that, social media and PR coverage. But something that surprised us was the additional kind of added value through being there, and all of the people that travel to volunteer on making the floats and see tours of the float building warehouse and come to Float Fest after, which is where all the floats line up, and you can come and speak to the hosts of the floats directly. And we came in contact with hundreds of thousands of people through that as well. So definitely was a wonderful return on investment, and we are excited to announce that we'll be returning this January 1st, New Year's Day. And the theme of our new float is Mississippi, Where Creativity Blooms. And it is a tribute to all the arts and culture visitor attractions throughout our state.
So what's going to be featured on the float?
The middle and biggest kind of feature is Kermit the Frog, paying tribute, of course, to Jim Henson in Leland, the birthplace of Kermit the Frog Museum. We know a lot of us here in Mississippi know that, but throughout the nation, they might not. And so we want to share that story. And then up front, we'll have Charlie Worsham performing for us, a Mississippi native and CMA Artist of the Year. And he's going to be on a stage that's wrapped with artwork inspired by Walter Anderson, representing the coast. And then, of course, on the back, we will have a big open book that represents all of the different art forms in Mississippi, whether that's visual, performing, film, and it's kind of a collage of different, museums and public art throughout the state.
We have homecoming parades at high schools all across the state. I've got a 10th grade daughter who is trying to put together the homecoming float, along with a bunch of her classmates and some parents that are helping. I had to drop off a trailer this past week for them to get ready. A little bit different in terms of the process for building a float for the Rose Parade than for your local high school's homecoming. What does that process look like? I know the answer to this, but I'm going to throw it out anyway. I'm assuming that doesn't mean that we're constructing a float here in Mississippi and then sending it out across the country to California, right?
That's right. And I'm the same way. I grew up in Mississippi on the coast, and we did what I consider float building, but it was a very different pump situation. And so this is already in construction. And so we contract with a float builder out in Pasadena called AES. And they're already constructing the non-live matter, the base of the float. And then once we get out there, there will be back-to-back float making sessions in this huge air-conditioned warehouse throughout the days and weeks leading up to the float. And so people, come to volunteer. They spend their holiday season taking family trips to go be a part of this. And there are leaders for each float building session that are more professional and have more experience, and they tell you where to put the flowers, and then professional florists come in to kind of finish it off. So it is quite the production, but so much fun to be a part of. And I tell people all the time, the coolest work trip I've ever gotten to do.
I'm assuming you're going back again this year?
I am. We're excited to host, a media day this year and really capitalize on that float building session. And so ahead of it, we're really going to come back to people in Mississippi and, of course, throughout the nation to invite visitors to come and experience and really dive into each of the different elements of the float. So here we are at the sign that shares all the different museums, and here we are down at the stage, and we'll talk about the Walter Anderson Museum and so forth.
Those of us who have sent flowers or received flowers know that there is a shelf life for live flowers, and you try to keep them alive as long as you can. What's the timeline for actually putting the flowers on the float? Because these are live roses and other flowers that go into to make the lion's share of the float. How does that work?
It's really interesting. It begins with they're all live organic matter is what they call it. So they will grind up, like a purple flower or this sort of stem or this herb, anything really. And if it's the appropriate color, they'll grind it up, mix it together, and then glue it on to make it look like whatever sign you're trying to replicate. And so that kind of starts first, because that obviously has a longer shelf life if it's just a piece of matter that's glued on. But then in really the couple of days leading up, that's when it goes crazy, and everyone is like all hands on deck, and the professional florists come in and they, kind of finish it out with those live flowers. And then they last through what's called Float Fest. So like I mentioned earlier, all the floats come up and take over January 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And you can purchase a ticket. Hundreds of thousands of people come to see the floats up close. And then after that, they are gone away. So it's a really special thing to be a part of, to be only a certain amount of people that year that have seen those particular floats.
How expensive is this? When you talk about putting a float in the parade and going into the process of building it and hiring a float maker and all of the things that go along with it, I mean, you talked about return on investment, and obviously you got to justify the expenditure. How much does it cost?
Yes, and we're transparent at Visit Mississippi. It is about $700,000 to be a sponsor in this way, but truly the return on investment is, I'll just say, I'm going to read my numbers so I get it right, but we had 28 million viewers just to the live segment alone. On top of that, we had 800,000 plus in-person attendees. That's more of like a consumer show we were able to engage with. And then Float Fest had 72,000 people, and then the PR and social efforts generated $1.2 million in earned media value. And so it's really unlike anything else that we could have done by just placing a 3-minute commercial on national television. Yeah.
Well, and I wasn't questioning the expenditure. I just was curious. I mean, obviously there's a lot that goes into this, but it's a ROI-driven investment, and certainly very, very cool. Beyond the Rose Parade, this is a time of year when you got lots of people that are out. Hopefully it's going to cool off before too much longer. There's so many attractions across the state of Mississippi. In fact, I had somebody that sent us a message that said, hey, could you mention the Rodeo Cowboys Hall of Fame located in Columbia, Mississippi? We've got unique museums and cultural attractions all over the state.
That's right. Something new we're going to do this year is have a landing page on our website for the Rose Parade where people can click on the rendering of the float and kind of dive into the different areas that are described. And then we'll also be able to list out and link out all sorts of arts and culture attractions throughout the state. So that's kind of where we'll be driving all of that traffic. And then Last year we were able to unveil record number of visitors here in Mississippi. In 2023, we had 43.7 million visitors who generated $11.5 billion in visitor spending. And so we hope that we are on track to, keep that momentum up. And we're going to be unveiling some new numbers for 2024 very soon. So stay tuned for that. But we just continue to share, all these different great visitor experiences throughout the state. We've got great events coming up this fall, like you said, when it cools off. National Folk Festival is coming to Jackson. Tons of great arts and culture festivals all throughout the state.
How does Visit Mississippi work in conjunction with local communities? There's so many festivals that are great that bring arts and crafts vendors and live music and incredible food. Obviously supportive, but what does that look like?
We are very collaborative with our DMOs. It stands for Destination Marketing Organizations throughout our state, and that's really our connection to the communities. But if a community doesn't have a DMO, we have a partner and industry newsletter that we send out monthly, and people can send in their events that go straight to our website and our social media for promotion. We try to just reach everyone through organizations, Main Street and different kind of organizations that we're able to go and speak to and educate on what we're doing here at Visit Mississippi and how we can promote their attractions.
That number you threw out a second ago is staggering. So roughly 15 times the population of the state of Mississippi, the number of visitors we had in 2023. Katie Coates, Director of Marketing and Communications with Visit Mississippi. Thanks so much for your time, and can't wait to see the Rose Parade.
Thank you.
Good to be with you this morning. Good to be with you as well. We will wrap up this edition of Mornings with Richard Cross on the other side of this timeout. Alongside Lance, I'm Richard. We're back with you to wrap things up. Going to give some tickets away when we come back.
Like my rose.
From the Venable Glass.
What's a frequency can it's your vintage.
All right, get your texting fingers ready. C Spire text line is open right now, 601-879-4395. The best teams know how to get even better. That's why C Spire constantly enhances their wireless, fiber internet, and business solutions for you. Visit cspire.com today. C Spire, inspired by you. One of the best-selling acts in all of country music is coming to Tupelo on January 16th. Jason Aldean will be at the Cadence Bank Arena. Tickets go on sale tomorrow at Ticketmaster.com and at the Cadence Bank Arena box office. But now is your chance to win not one, not two, but 3 pairs of tickets to see some of the biggest hit makers in country music, one of the biggest hit makers in country music, before you can buy them. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you a phrase that you will text to the C Spire text line. Again, the number is 601-879-4395. We are going to take the 7th, the 8th, and the 9th person. And by the way, try to win the tickets if you can go to the concert. But the 7th, 8th, and 9th person that sends us the words Dirt Road Anthem will win a pair of tickets to the Jason Aldean Show, January 16th, Cadence Bank Arena in Tupelo. Dirt Road Anthem, go. 601-879-4395. The 7th, 8th, and 9th people to text that to us will be winners. There's 4, there's 5, there's 6. All right, there's 7. Chris in Batesville's a winner. There's 8. And there's number 9. Lance is going to reach out to you. So, Lance, starting there with Chris in Batesville.
I got you. Yes, sir.
And then those next two numbers, Lance is going to text you back. You got to follow through, though. You've got to respond to the message from Lance and give him your contact information so we can get those tickets to you. Congratulations to our winners. We do have 3 winners, and we're going to give away 3 pairs of tickets. Be listening again tomorrow morning. Dave will be in, and he'll give away the final pair of tickets for the Jason Aldean show in Tupelo on January 16th. Big football weekend coming up. Big football weekend. So you've got junior high football happening all across the state of Mississippi tonight and a few high school games. You got a full docket of high school football that's coming your way tomorrow night, and then we'll get to college football on Saturday. And what a start to the year for our teams here in Mississippi. Ole Miss at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon is hosting Tulane in Oxford. Mississippi State at 3:15, is that right? Hold on. I just want to double check on that. Pull it up right here. Mississippi State has Northern Illinois 3:15 kickoff. So Ole Miss's game will be televised on ESPN, and of course you can listen on many of these SuperTalk Mississippi stations. Mississippi State hosting Northern Illinois. That game on the SEC Network at 3:15. Again, available on many of these SuperTalk Mississippi stations. And in Sunbelt action, Southern Miss off to a 2-1 start on the road for the first time this week after 3 straight home games to start the year. 2-1, lost the season opener, won their last 2 ball games. Southern Miss in Ruston, Louisiana, to take on Louisiana Tech, who is also 2-1. Louisiana Tech a slight favorite in that ball game. 6:30 kickoff, and ESPN Plus has the broadcast. And forgive me, I mentioned junior high football. I mentioned high school football. I mentioned college football. The greatest junior college football in the entire country happens right here in the state of Mississippi. And you got junior college football happening all across the state tonight as well. Hopefully you can find a football game this weekend. Maybe multiple football games. In fact, my daughter last night said, hey, I want to go to the Oxford game on Friday night, but I want to go see the Regents game as well. And I was like, well, we got to figure out the transportation on that, but we'll try to make it happen. So whether it's junior high, high school, junior college, or college football, you got it all coming this weekend. Lance, always a pleasure.
Have a wonderful weekend, Richard. I'll see you on Monday.
Dave will be in tomorrow morning alongside Lance to carry you through the Friday edition of Mornings with Richard Cross. I appreciate you. All of the interaction on the C Spire text line. You're passionate about a lot of issues. We do not take you for granted. Thanks for being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Have an outstanding Thursday.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.